Donald Trump wants to take down Ron DeSantis, and he's going to attack him. He's going to mock him. He's going to do all of those things. But in addition to that, he's got some very weird, it's not even really a conspiracy theory. I think it's simpler than that. It's just a bizarre lie that might actually open him up to yet another investigation by the DOJ. So it starts off with him trying to insult how Ron DeSantis came to become governor in the first place, saying, Ron came to me in desperate shape in 2017, politically dead, losing in a landslide. He had low approval, bad polls, no money, but said that if I would capital E endorse him, he could win. I said, let's give it a shot. When I endorsed him, I also fixed his campaign, which had completely fallen apart. I was all in for Ron, and he beat Gillum, but after the race, that's capitalized, when votes were being stolen by the corrupt election process and Ron was going down 10,000 votes a day, along with now Senator Rick Scott, I sent in the FBI and the US attorneys, and the ballot theft ended immediately, just prior to them running out of the votes necessary to win. I stopped his election from being stolen. So he has been claiming credit for Ron DeSantis for a very long time, which sure, maybe on election night, you say that it was your, like, you get the credit for it, but every month that goes by, when you continue to claim credit for someone who is popular in their own right, you just look more and more pathetic. Nobody cares 2 years later whether you're responsible, they like him. But beyond that, he sent in the FBI and US attorneys to stop the election from being stolen. So far as anyone can tell, that didn't happen. That's not actually based on anything. Unless it did happen and we didn't know about it, in which case, well, that needs to be looked into. What is that about? Or is this just a thing that he wanted to do, but he got stopped from doing because what are you talking about? You can't do that. Most people, I think, reasonably are just gonna gloss over that and move on with the rest of the insane stuff. But that seems significant, Brett, this claim that almost certainly is just a lie.
I know you're mad, but did you just say you crimed? It seems like you just said you crimed. You're like, I stopped them from counting votes, because every time Donald Trump says that there was some irregularity in voting, the courts say, no, there wasn't. And if he actually was able to stop votes from being counted in the process of getting DeSantis elected the first time, then he is the one committing voter fraud, as anyone who would glance at this would see. But I'm not quite sure how much of these truths people are actually reading.
Yeah.
And that's the big question. Like, as you hit on, like, is Trump going to be effective in his attacks the way he had been in the past? Or are people done with the clown show? Are people who watched Trump on stage with 16 garden variety politicians in 2015 and were refreshed by that, refreshed by him attacking people like and exposing the weird speech patterns of politicians who equivocate? That was cool for them in 2015. But now, is it just that Kevin was only talking about the food in the vending machine, like in the office, instead of being like this brilliant genius? Like, is Grandpa just rambling in very ineffective and now, rather than defiant, just sad ways?
Yeah, maybe. I don't. There is a lot more ramble to come. I will say on the sending the FBI, I want him to just bleat that he was exaggerating, because I don't want any more investigations. I've got enough. I don't want to have to track any more of this. I'm good at this point. Anyway, finally he goes on to say, and now Ron DeSanctimonious, multiple times in one rant, is playing games. The fake news asked him if he's going to run if President Trump runs, which is how people talk about themselves in the third person. And he says, I'm only focused on the governor's race. I'm not looking to the future. Well, in terms of loyalty and class, that's really not the right answer. So he doesn't want him to run. I don't think that he wanted to start this early. I don't think he wanted to do it before he announced. I think he would have preferred to wait a few months. I mean, he definitely seemed hesitant up until now. This is an emotional reaction to the midterms. And that matters from his point of view, because this is not Trump coming with his best stuff. This is not, like, if you are a strong DeSantis supporter who might like Trump, might have sort of split loyalties, there are ways you could peel that person away from DeSantis. How is this gonna do it? Just claiming credit and calling him DeSanctimonious? That is not gonna win over those people. So you get the negative credit of being seen to be the bad guy who's starting a fight and not unifying, but you don't get the good side of that, which is actually maybe winning over some voters. That's my perception. But I want to throw into the conversation that DeSantis, I almost called him DeSanctimonious. DeSantis is not the, maybe it is effective. DeSantis is not the only potential competitor he decided to bleed about. He sent this out, and this is an amazing message. Young Kin, now that's an interesting take. Sounds Chinese, doesn't it? In Virginia, couldn't have won without me. I endorsed him, did a very big Trump rally for him, telephonically got MAGA to vote for him, or he doesn't have a chance of winning. But he knows that and admits it, besides having a hard time with the Dems in Virginia, but he'll get it done. So he sucks, could never win, if not for me, if not for my telephonically. And he calls him Young Kin instead of Youngkin, and then tries to tie him to the, so like he enjoyed the Coco Chow thing so much that he wants to do anti-Asian slurs, but it's not an Asian person. He's not gonna let that stop him. It's a white guy. I'm still gonna do the anti-Asian stuff because that's more fun. It's just so bizarre, Brad.
Couple things. First, when a comedian like starts being known about and starts their like rise, they finally are making it.
Yeah.
They have worked years and years honing a craft that then it pays off finally. And that was Trump for the last 3.5 years. It paid off for, I guess, 5 years, 6 years. But now he's at that point in the comedian's like arc where he thinks everything he comes up with is funny. He hasn't had to try anymore. He doesn't have to prove himself in front of an audience anymore. He doesn't have to keep earning it. And now he's just going with the literal first idea that pops into his head because he thinks he's that smart. With Youngkin, that's not a threat. That's not ever gonna be a threat. Larry Hogan, probably not a threat. These kind of governors in purple-ish states, that's not gonna be a threat. Ron DeSantis is the only threat to him, so that's the only one it seems that he workshopped, and even then, it fell flat on his face. I think that's the main thing. But when you're talking about Youngkin and DeSantis as people that you endorsed, and then they turned their back on you and won, they tooted and booted on you. Like they used you for the equivalent of political sex, and then pushed you out the door. That doesn't make you seem awesome.
Yeah.
That makes them seem like conventionally 90s frat boy cool, which I really think is the barometer for popularity in the Republican Party.
That's true. Yeah. Particularly for DeSantis, who apparently did see himself that way back in the day. Yeah. By the way, let me run another possibility behind you, or by you, behind you. What the hell's wrong with me? Who's ready for Saturday? Me? How about this? Ron DeSadness. He'll make you sad, people. He'll make you sad. I think he could get that going. Just always about how he makes you sad.
That's it. But that's a better one, because when the way to unravel Ron DeSantis is to call him like a little twerp.
Yeah.
He's like this little twerp who's doing an impression of me. Like he does a crappy impression of Trump. He's a tactician. And here's all anyone really needs to understand about the next 2 years of Republican politics.
What?
Is that you don't need to be successful in the grand, like all of American voting apparatus to win a primary. And even hurt Trump can garner, even with everybody else united against him. My faith right now is that without, maybe he's gonna start losing it, but at this moment, he can still get enough people behind him to win a primary and then flop in the general election. No matter how, and then he's already given everybody's already given him enough stuff to put in their ads, such as the video ad of Ron DeSantis putting his kid to bed as DeSantis is reading the kid a bedtime story that's The Art of the Deal by Trump.
Yeah.
They all fell on their knees for him. He needs to remind them of that. They all love me. These guys all don't say they love me and turn their back on me. to win. That you just called them a winner. Say they love me. They got on their knees for me, and I have to remind everybody they are really nothing without me.
Yeah. Let's be clear. On the knees to pray. Nothing else. Nothing else.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.